Welcome to Tea Time with Tea. This is my very first podcast. This show is about motivation and trying to just talk to people who's trying to figure out life, who's trying to go on that journey to success. And we have our first guest today, AT, also known as his real name, Thomas Cacciatore, and my co-host, Jorge Gallardo. We're just going to jump into this. A little bit about AT. He's from Port Chester, New York, graduated from SUNY Albany in 2008, and he's a gamer. He likes dogs. Do you want to add anything about yourself, AT, or just say hi to everyone?
That's pretty much me, summed up in a nutshell.
Good.
He's a gamer that likes dogs.
He's a gamer that likes dogs. Love it. You just moved from Port Chester to Queens, and we want to get into that a little bit on what's life like in Port Chester and why the move to Queens.
So I pretty much grew up my whole life in Port Chester, and before I moved to Queens, I was living with my family, and things were just really comfortable for me. I didn't have too many responsibilities, and I feel like I just was kind of stagnant, and I wanted to be in a more motivated environment. I wanted to find other people that would kind of help me just feel like I wanted just...
Want to be around more motivated people?
Yeah, I just wanted to be around more motivated people, and I felt like that would help me find more motivation. Because being at home, it just felt like it was very easy to kind of push things off and say, I'll do something tomorrow, and I didn't have any kind of sense of urgency to get anything done, really.
Or accountability too, maybe. Like, it's you're accountable to yourself when you say I'm going to do something tomorrow, and then it's like if you don't do it, it's just yourself, so it's kind of hard maybe to hold yourself accountable. It's probably a skill that you have to develop.
And I agree with that, but to a certain point. Like, is there ever a time where you're just like, okay, now you took this leap, you moved to Queens, and you're like, all right, I'm around this person who's motivated, I'm around people who are motivated. What happens when you go back to Port Chester, if that's your plan? Do you feel like you're still going to be motivated, or how are you planning on that transition? I think that's...
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an obstacle that I think personally I would have to tackle. I feel like motivation is definitely something that I have a hard time finding on my own. So I think that's definitely going to be an obstacle for me if I do end up, moving back to Port Chester. I think that at least I'm hoping that with the progress that I make over the summer and the things that I learned, that I'll find that I won't have as much trouble motivating myself.
So this is like a Kickstarter to you, to like get you motivated.
Sort of, yeah. I would say this is sort of like the spark that I feel like I need in order to get myself in gear. I think once I'm on the right track, I would be more likely to continue on that track. But I definitely have a hard time kind of starting from scratch and sort of being all over the place. It's sort of overwhelming, not knowing where to start. And I think that once I can establish that, then maybe I'll be more motivated to continue what I'm doing.
I think a lot of it has to do with habits. With habits you develop, and as you're growing, some students have better habits than others that they've developed. I think we as humans are creatures of habit. Like everything we do is habit. Like you wake up and some people brush their teeth first thing before they do anything else. Some people go straight to the kitchen, get cereal. Some people, have their own different habits, and all of us are creatures of habit, and it's all about developing and strengthening good habits. When you're alone and you develop bad habits, it can set you on a really bad path, or a very unproductive or a very unsuccessful or average or below average path.
AT, do you feel like you developed bad habits in Portchester for living there for so long? And like, what were you doing after you graduated college in 2008? We all know that was a time of, I was almost going to say Great Depression, but we were in a recession. And you graduated in the same year that it did. Do you feel like that affected you in any way in terms of motivation and a black hole that you probably fell into?
To an extent, I guess it affected me. I would say that it definitely affected my family at the time. For me, personally, it was more of an issue trying to find a job. You know, it was pretty tough at the time. I can't even count how many resumes I sent out and ads that I responded to. Luckily enough for me, I did get a response from a credit union, and I started there pretty much from the bottom as like a teller and worked my way up. And I was actually working for that company for about 6 years.
Going back to the recession and that waiting time that you were waiting to hear a response, did you ever feel like, I'm not good enough, they're not calling me because I'm not good enough for this job? Or did you feel like you had like an understanding of like, all right, maybe because of everything that's going on, this is why I'm not getting a call back?
It definitely felt at times like it was kind of like you were put into this trap, because there was sort of this companies only wanted you if you had 5 to 10 years of experience, and I just got out of school, which I didn't have that. So it definitely felt like I was not being looked at in a lot of the applications that I sent. But I think that it almost, I remember spending just hours and hours and hours every day just sending out resumes and looking at jobs, pretty much applying to anything. And it was almost like a motivator for me, because I knew at the time, because of the way things were going with my family, that I needed to move out and find my own place, that it was almost like a motivator for me. I knew I had to send out these applications and get a job as soon as possible.
This was just out of college. Like, unless you had a plan after college, a lot of us were probably like lost. Like, a lot of us are lost. Did you feel lost after graduating college? Like, you know, you had a degree, but maybe you had no idea what to do with that degree or what options were available to you.
I mean, it wasn't really a choice. Like I said, it was kind of, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I never had a direct plan through all of college where I said, okay, this is what I want to do. And it sort of was like,
I think that's a problem.
I agree with you, yeah.
I mean, yes and no. Because it's like,
if you don't have a plan, you're just going around aimlessly. Unless you're going in the right direction by accident, then maybe it's not a problem. That's the only way I could see it. But if you're like, you know, let's say you're majoring in like economics or finance, let's say, and get a job in Wall Street accidentally, you could maybe do that for a few years and like make a lot of money maybe. If you don't have a plan, you could be going in the completely like wrong direction, and the schools don't care. Like the colleges, as long as you're paying or they're getting money for you, they don't really care. They're just happy that you're like there paying and stuff. If you didn't plan, if you didn't know what you were going to do after college, it might have been a better idea to wait to start college. And I'm not blaming you. I'm not saying it's your fault. Most of us, the majority of us, before college, in college, we didn't really know where we wanted to end up. And, you know, some of us still don't know where we want to end up. I think for me personally, like it's hard for me to feel like accomplished or satisfied. And I just like keep pushing. And I'm not even the most like motivated person. I feel motivated, but I'm not the best at being productive like 100% of the time. And I struggle with that myself.
Well, we're going to get more to you, Jorge, in like episode 8 or something of this podcast.
All right, let's go back to
we have a lot of people coming on, but I think you're absolutely right. It's the lack of having direction or having an idea on where you want to go in life. And at that age, like, we're so young when we're starting out college, and I personally feel like maybe you don't know right then and there if college is for you or not. And this is,
but you feel like everyone else is doing it.
I really felt like at least for me when I was in college, I really just did not feel like I was mature enough to make a life-changing decision like that. I'm sure there are plenty of people that are mature enough to do that. But to me, I kind of was going with the flow and not really thinking too much about where I was going to end up. I mean, I know plenty of people that knew before they went to college that, they knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they followed a direct path through college to do that.
Like, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a teacher.
Maybe it's easier too if you have family members that have gone before you that maybe are able to learn from the experience. Let's say you have an older brother and let's say they're 5 or 10 years older than you or something, and they go through it and then they realize, oh shoot, I should have known this before I started, or I should have known that. And if they're helpful, if you have a good relationship with them and they're smart enough to realize and talk to you about it, then I think maybe you have a chance, or parents maybe. But if you don't have someone helping you out, because they don't really teach you this stuff. You're 17 years old and they're all right, what do you want to major in? What do you want to do for the rest of your life? And it's hard to know.
Yeah, I mean, for my situation at least, I was the first one in my family to go through college. So I definitely didn't have, somebody telling me that I should have this planned out ahead of time.
Some kind of guidance. So back to you working in banking. You worked in banking for 6 years. What happened with that? How did you get out of banking? I want to hear about you falling into this hole almost.
Do you feel you developed bad habits while you were in Portchester? Do you feel you developed bad habits as a result of that lack of motivation?
Well, I feel that goes back to the banking question. What happened to your banking job?
Yeah, but even while doing the banking job, you could have really bad habits. If you're complacent and, unmotivated to improve or really change your life, it's really easy to get comfortable, I think you said, right? Looking back,
I'd say that there was definitely a lack of energy after work. So it was extremely difficult for me to even consider working on extra projects or doing anything like that after a day of work. I've always been fascinated by people that have enough energy and motivation to work a full day and then do something for 5 hours, on their own, that I would consider work. I've always found that crazy, but there are tons of people out there that can do that. So I definitely felt that I did not have the energy, and I fell into kind of I guess you could say bad habits, where I would get home and it was just super easy for me to do things that kind of turned off my brain, watch TV or play games or, and definitely other things came along with that, because it was just well, I don't have energy to do, to try to eat healthy or exercise. And it was, so it affects your whole life.
You did have moments, though, where you had little brief, spurts of motivation. I know for a time you were running and you were working out a little bit, because I remember you gave me advice personally, on things I could do, workouts I could do. And it's if you don't turn that into a permanent habit, it goes away, you lose it, and then you don't keep doing it, and then it's just gone.
It really is extremely easy to fall out of, for me at least, to fall out of good habits. I mean, like you said, I did have a period where I was I was probably in the best shape of my life at that time. I was working out for several months. I
remember you were posting shirtless pics on Facebook.
All right,
if we could go back to that moment when you were working out and you felt like things were going well for you, what were the things that were making you I want to have this healthy lifestyle, I want to go running?
Yeah, what motivated you to do that?
What was going on in your life during that time when you were doing all these things?
I couldn't even really pinpoint it for you, to be honest. I think that I just got to a point where maybe I could pinpoint it, actually. I think a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, was getting married at the time, and I remember originally when we were getting fit for all our suits or tuxedos and everything like that, we got fit, and then months later, but for the actual wedding, when I went back, I just could not fit into any of the clothes. And to me, that was kind of an eye opener. And it was okay, I need to change something here, because for me to just and it wasn't a super small size difference, it was pretty significant. So for me, it was kind of like, just like, I guess, again, going back to like a sense of urgency, I felt like, okay, I need to do something about this now, because now I can see, I can directly see the numbers. I can see it's clearly written in front of me that this is how much you've gained. This is how much, your size has increased. And it was sort of like an eye opener for me. And that's kind of like when I decided, okay, I need to change that. I need to, and that, I guess that's sort of what gave me the motivation to be more active and work out and run.
At least to start.
Yeah. And again, I think that's what, for me personally, is the hardest part, is to start and get into that routine. And I was able to keep that up for several months, and I can almost tell you what broke that cycle was. I actually went on like a vacation, and I didn't exercise at all on the vacation, and I drank a lot and ate horribly. Not horrible food, but I just ate too much. And it was very easy, very, very easy for me to just fall back into bad eating habits and being lazy and not feeling that drive to continue what I was doing.
And that was in a course of 1 week of that vacation.
I mean, that was the start of it. You start pushing things to the side, and maybe instead of working out 5 days a week, I only worked out 4, then 3, then
or I'll
2.
I'll just start Monday. I'll start the first of the month.
Oh,
whatever.
Because you don't see the negative results directly right away. I mean, my metabolism was great. I was feeling great. So even if after a week or two of eating bad, I didn't see myself gaining 10 pounds. It was just like it creeps up on you. And then after a month of that, then you notice, okay, well, now I gained this weight back.
I think that's how like we all are. Like, not all of us, but a lot of us like are very reactive. Like, we don't care about our blood sugar or the food we eat until we get diabetes, or you don't really think about your health until you get told, or until you have a heart attack. And like, that's the problem, that we're not very like proactive at prevention. Like, I'm kind of like a big believer in an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. And even still, I'm not perfect. Like, I've gone through my own phases where I don't want to talk about me so much, but
right, because you're on,
Sure, we could do another podcast with me on it. I feel like I've gotten a lot better at being productive and developing some good habits. And I'm not perfect, and I have a lot to work on, and I feel like I am working on them, and not just saying it. Like, I am, but we could talk about that another time. But for you, it's just that, like, that one incident, going away for 1 week, losing that motivation, losing that drive, maybe even feeling bad about yourself, like, oh shoot, I screwed up, and then like maybe finding comfort in eating food or something. Like, it's so easy to fill good habits when you stop, doing them with bad habits. It's hard. It's very difficult. This is why most people, like the majority of people, are not successful, or are not, able to keep their diets, or are not able to keep exercising or whatever, because you really have to you have to train your brain. You have to like rewire your brain to develop a habit. And I know there's studies and statistics saying that you need like 66 days of doing something in a row to develop a habit, or whatever the number is. You have to really change your life. It has to be a lifestyle change. And it's so easy to fall back on bad habits when maybe the people around you aren't like motivating you or helping you out or supportive. Like, they're buying ice cream or something, or like, not finishing their food and letting you eat the fries, whatever it might be.
But the point of this, don't wait until tomorrow to start something. Don't wait until August 1st, I'm going to start something. You got to just start now. Like, now is the time. If you're looking to make a change, if you're looking to do something with yourself, with your life, start now.
Even then, it's like, how many times have you heard that? And people don't listen. People don't, or they'll try for a few days and then they lose the habit. So I think what you really got to do is unless you're like absolutely intrinsically motivated and are able to like set your sights on something and then just go towards that and like just have like blinders on, like not many of us are like that. We're easily distracted or easily fall out of these good habits or whatever. So like, I have a friend, for example, a friend who's a friend of all of ours, who I look at, and he doesn't need anyone else to do something, to accomplish something. And that's Dave. I guess I'll bring him up. Can we talk about Dave?
We could talk about Dave, and Dave is also going to be on the podcast. So
yeah, Dave is the kind of person that, like, if he might decide by himself, hey, I'm gonna do 100 push-ups in 2 minutes, and I'm gonna like train to do that, and he'll literally do everything. Like, everything around his life will be around doing 100 push-ups. And yeah, he might break here or there, but he's very consistent and very motivated to do stuff by himself. He doesn't need anyone to be like, hey, let's go hit the gym. Hey, let's do this. And I still think he's definitely not perfect, but he's like inspiring almost to me. Like, he's someone I look up to when I think about accomplishing stuff, or when I feel like I'm wasting time. Like, you know, what would Dave do almost?
And that kind of leads us into our next point, AT. Like, what's inspiring you? Like, what's keeping you going? And what are your goals for the next few weeks?
I think what's inspiring me at the moment is kind of a sense that I feel like I've sort of figured out what I want. Not exactly what I want to do, but at least a direction of where I want my life to go. And I think that's exciting for me because I never really knew before.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So, I mean, I worked for, right after college, I worked for 6 years for a credit union, and I didn't hate my job. But I definitely can't say that I loved my job. And it just got very routine, a lot of the same things every day, and then days turned to weeks, weeks turned to months, and eventually 6 years of my life is gone. So I think that after I ended up losing that job, actually. But I think after leaving that job, it was kind of like an opportunity for me to try to figure out what it would really like make me happy. I always thought I gave a few things a try. Actually, I tried doing a little. Jorge tried to get me a little bit into programming, which it was very interesting, but it just didn't click with me, and I didn't feel like I had the drive to want to really learn it. I mean, I gave it a shot, but it just didn't feel like that's what I wanted to do.
I think you gave it, now that I think about it, I think you gave it a legitimate shot. I still think you could do it if you really wanted to, but I think you did give at least web development a shot, and you didn't really like that aspect. Continue, because I kind of know what you're working on now, and like what your general direction is, and I'm actually very supportive of it. I think it's a great idea, and I'm like very supportive of people. I don't have like these ideas that if you're not like a lawyer, doctor, or whatever, that you're not successful. Like, I like seeing people be successful in different ways and unique ways.
So yeah, I mean, so definitely like I felt like it just wasn't for me, at least, or wouldn't make me happy to do that. I started thinking about, well, what were some of the things that do make me happy? I mean, I enjoy playing video games. I used to be involved in competitive video gaming when I was younger, and just traveling, seeing people within that community. I just realized that was like some of the most fun I ever had. I wanted to be involved in that again. So I'm kind of stuttering here, but I think that the esports industry, I think that competitive gaming is getting more popular than it ever was, and I think that there's definitely a future in that. And I want to be a part of that growth. I don't exactly know what I want to do specifically, but I feel like if I'm involved in something like that, because I've always been passionate about games, that I would enjoy myself.
And what are you doing right now to get to that point?
Right now I'm trying to build a YouTube channel to sort of, show that I want to be a part of this community. And I'm practicing making videos. I've never used any video editing software before, so I'm very new at that. I'm trying to learn that, but luckily Jorge here likes to do that kind of thing. So I'm going to be working on, creating different types of videos that I think can resonate with the gaming community and even people that may not be part of the gaming community. But I think that I just want to be involved, and I feel like the videos that I plan on making will kind of show that I want to be a part of the community.
When can we expect your first video?
That's a great question. I have a few things lined up, but
you already have a couple videos out, but I think the first like real big one will probably be in a few weeks.
Yeah,
right?
I would say in a couple weeks. I mean, it's going to take me more so than actually like filming the video. It's probably going to take me a very long time to learn how to edit the video the way that the way that I want. So I think that that's what's really going to take a long time. But I do have a couple of videos lined up, so hopefully in a few weeks the first major one will be out. I have a few up already that are just kind of practice videos while I was trying to figure out the software, but those are more of just like a kind of practice for fun videos.
Are they public? Could we see them?
Yeah, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's
Well, we'll link it in the description
we'll link
below.
it in the description because I don't know if it actually even has a name yet.
I have one last question for you. So, again, Port Chester, New York, coming to Queens, New York, basically starting over. Do you have any advice for someone who might be in the same shoe, who's starting over and completely like
How about this?
starting from scratch?
If you could talk to your 21-year-old self, what would you say?
I like that.
I would say don't be afraid to do what you like, even if you don't think that it could lead to anything. Just keep doing what you like, and I think that eventually I'll find my way.
I'd like to add on to what you would say to your 21-year-old self, and something I think you should tell yourself now, and everyone should tell themselves like right now, I think, that it's like it isn't too late until you're dead. You know, you might be 70 years old, but you could learn programming still, or learn how to use a computer, or, you know, set a goal that's realistic, but something that you might want to do or have some ambition in doing. And I feel like I struggle personally sometimes because I feel like, oh crap, I'm 31 years old. It's too late for me. I can't do college over. I can't do this again. You know, I've lost 10 years, even though I really haven't lost 10 years. I'm in an okay spot, but I'm not completely satisfied. If you give up, that's when you truly do lose. You could be 31, you could be 40, but and it doesn't matter where you are, but you can turn things around. You could weigh 400 pounds, but you can lose the weight. You just have to start and do it right now. You have to do it now, and you have to be consistent, and you can't give up. And it's okay to fall off the wagon and not be perfect. This fitness coach on YouTube always says he's big on consistency over perfection. So when he coaches people or trains people, it's okay if you screw up. It's not the end of the world. Just get back on the horse and keep going. And I think a lot of us, let's say right now I start running and then I run for 3 days in a row and then I miss a fourth day. It is extremely important that I don't miss the next day of running. Otherwise, it's going to be even harder to get back on the horse. So it's maybe a little bit easier when you have someone there or a coach or someone holding you accountable and kicking you out the door with your running shoes to make sure that you do it. Just make sure that you realize that it's not too late if you start right now. The best time to start is yesterday. The next best time is right now. So get started.
I like right now. Good stuff, guys. Thank you for joining in on Tea Time with T. We will see you guys on the next podcast. And ciao.